We got Hall of Fame Riders broadcaster here, John Frenzy, with us, and we're bringing in Hall of Fame Dallas Cowboys broadcaster Brad Sham from the great state today. And maybe hey, good day, Brad. Happy New Year to you, sir. I know it's a little late for that, but we haven't seen you in 2021.
RP, same to you, and that's fine. Listen, you can help me, I hope, with a little problem.
Sure.
I am completely admiring that sweatshirt you're wearing so much that I have gone to CFL.ca shop, and I can get merchandise from any team, but I can't find on their website a way to buy that. How do I get that?
Probably a garage sale, Brad, because this was from the 2012 Grey Cup in Toronto, to be honest with you. That would be my guess. But we'll talk with the CFL. Yeah, because they watch every day. Sir,
okay, great.
If you don't mind, what would be your answer to that?
Your poll question? May I answer your poll question?
What would be your answer to that?
My answer to that would be a J.J. Watt signing. I think that's the easiest one. I think he's down to, it sounds like from what I'm reading, he's down to maybe 3 teams. I think there are, with the trades, there are a lot of moving parts. I personally believe, without any hard evidence that I could show you, that the Cowboys are going to get a long-term deal done with Dak. I don't think, I'm looking at my calendar, I don't think it will happen until, I think it's the 9th of March when is the last day to apply the tag. I think they would prefer to find a deal they can make before it gets to having to tag him. They will tag him if they have to, because you then have until July to do a long-term deal. I think they understand that there's something emotionally for him that he would not like to be tagged. That's how players are. This is not about the player in my mind. It's about the agent. But that's part of the business. But I do believe they'll sign him, but I think it'll be easier for Watt to sign first.
Thank you.
Watson now says he wants out of Houston. He says he's determined to go. The new coach says no way. The new general manager says no way. Who's going to win that battle? It's an ugly situation.
It's almost criminal that they let it get to that point, because for fans, if you try to just put yourself in each position, you can see how complicated it is. But the team can say, look, we're new here. Your coach is new. Your GM's new. We're not part of any of the stuff that's gone on. But here's the deal. You got a contract. There's no way we think we can get value for you. And so we want to have a mutually harmonious relationship, and we'll bend over backwards. Remember, we weren't part of the problem before. But the deal is you've got a contract. And it's nearly impossible for us to trade you and get value. And so if it's really your choice to sit out and not get any of that money, that's your choice. You can do that. It doesn't sound smart, but that would be my opinion, but you can do that. They could work with one of the teams that's in the quarterback market. The problem is, unlike one of the rookies, he comes with a contract. And so it's got to be a team who can absorb the contract. And that was certainly the case with the Philadelphia Eagles and Wentz. So that's why that one's hard to resolve. And Jerry Jones, who is, if nothing else, a tremendous businessman, has always said, don't let your money get mad. And I think that's pretty good advice. Those of us without any money may not be able to relate to it, but I think that it's good advice. And so that's something in the Watson case that I think both sides have to think about.
What about the fans in Houston? They're great football fans. They must really be upset and ticked off.
Sure. I mean, but J.J. Watt, they've already divorced from J.J. Watt, the club. I mean, that's like unthinkable And sure, I think that those folks down there probably, here's the one thing that, and I try to say this to people, whether you're pulling for a college or a professional team, you're probably pulling for the team that your grandfather pulled for. And then your father, and then you, and then your kids or nieces and nephews. And so team presidents and owners come and go. General managers come and go. Coaches and managers come and go. Players come and go. You know who always stays the same?
Fans.
We do. The fans are always there. And they're always there through good or bad. And ultimately, my personal belief is that the team says, yeah, I can't worry about the fans. I just can't worry about what they want because I'm running a business. The player's running a brief career. And they'll all say we owe a great debt to our fans. We're nothing without our fans. We love our fans.
I got to take you right back. We were hanging on your every word, Brad, and then I think you got a ding, a text, a call, an email, something.
No, my computer decided now is when it needed to completely reboot.
Okay, I'm just glad it's not us. You have to explain. Don't let your money get mad. None of us have ever heard it up here in Canada, Brad. What would be your explanation of that saying of Jerry Jones?
Well, Jerry, by the way, if you stick around him long enough, Jerry will say a lot of things you never heard before. It's pretty entertaining.
Right.
What that means is when you're doing business, don't be emotional. Don't make a bad business decision. If business is your business, don't make a bad business decision because your emotions got in the way. So he would be saying to the Texans, and I suspect that he's saying it right now in his own personal, along with his son Stephen and with Will McClay, and as they deliberate with Dak Prescott's agents. Look, they tried to get him for what they wanted to pay him for the last couple of years. His agent, I think, had some reasonable points from the agent's point of view, not from the club's point of view. But so now they're in a position where they either have to, their salary cap's going to be a problem if they have to tag him again. If they let him go or tag him and trade him, you're giving up a lot. That means a lot to the franchise and the community. And frankly, look at all his advertisers. He's got a relationship as the Cowboys quarterback with practically the whole country. And you're also sending a big message to your locker room if you don't re-sign that guy. And so he's going to overpay for what he wants to pay. And his money getting mad would be, screw it. I'm not paying that guy $40 million. I'm not paying him $42 million, whatever it's going to take. Well, that would be your money getting mad. Okay, don't pay him. And then figure out whatever's going to be next. The smart thing to do is swallow hard, pay him more than you want to pay him because that's what it costs right now. And then go ahead and be a smart football businessman. That would be your money getting mad.
Yeah, so it's an old concept. Jerry put a name on it, basically, is what we're saying here. But
sure.
But we're all watching the game, Cowboys fan here, and I do have to ask you this. In the case of Dak Prescott, the injury was so ugly, Brad. Where is he in his rehab, by the way? Is he even going to be ready to go?
I think he's good. I think he's good. It's a bone. It was a bad break and a multiple break, and you had to repair a bunch of stuff, but it wasn't a knee ligament. It wasn't a shoulder structure. He's been rehabbing really hard. I have not heard one thing that leads me to believe that he will not be completely ready for training camp. And frankly, as they get into this period here where negotiations and free agency and all that becomes more pressing, their history has always been that they are deadline deal makers. And they've even said many times themselves, deadlines make deals. So the only reasons that I can conceive of that they would not do a long-term deal with him, even one they didn't choose to do, would be A, something is wrong physically that no one has been able to ascertain. There hasn't been one whisper that anything is wrong with his rehab, that his leg won't be fine, that he won't be 100%. The only other thing I can think of is if they evaluate him, they look at the salary, they look at the potential rookie crop of quarterbacks, with all these quarterbacks coming in, and they say, we're not 100% convinced he's our guy, and we've got the 10th pick, and we can turn it into that guy, and we like that better. That would be thoroughly inconsistent with everything they have ever said and the way they have acted about how they feel about it. They have always indicated publicly and privately they believe in him completely as a quarterback. He's their guy. And so that's why I think they're going to do a deal with it.
DG in Saskatoon writes in, Brad, he says, morning, guys. Really excited to hear from Brad Sham. Curious how he thinks Dan Quinn will run the defense differently than Mike Nolan. Hopefully better. And what positions he thinks they focus on in the draft. Two-part question there for you, Brad.
Well, I think that Mike Nolan's, first of all, if you ask most people, I think, with a blank slate, okay, you can have Dan Quinn or Mike Nolan run your defense. Who do you want? I just think most NFL people would take Dan Quinn. And then they just had a horrible situation to walk into in the pandemic with no offseason and no training camp to speak of and no preseason. And it was just awful. And they made some really serious coaching blunders in trying to do too much. They tried to fit square pegs into round holes. That's not good coaching. At least Quinn's been through that as the head coach of the Falcons, and he kind of knows. I think they won't have OTAs. They'll have it virtual again. So there's some slight technical differences in their schemes, but the most important thing is, which I think Quinn has been spending his time doing now, he's got to evaluate his personnel and decide how he can play with what he has, and then you supplement what he has with free agency in the draft, and then you kind of go from there. As far as what they need, just about everything. But I personally think they have a great need for a dominating defensive tackle. They clearly need help in the secondary. They have to decide which among their 3 or 4 4-year veteran free agents who are now out of contract they want to keep are worth keeping, and they probably need 2 corners and 1 or 2 safeties. And then you may find yourself in a position where when it's your turn to draft, Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State who opted out last year, and in every mock draft that I've seen, he's gone anywhere from 5th to 15. I saw him play in the Cotton Bowl. I broadcast the Cotton Bowl on radio 2 years ago when Penn State played in it, and I watched tape of the guy, and he blew me away, and he was just a sophomore then. So I'm a big believer that you pick the best player, whether he is what you need at most at the moment or not. I don't want them to reach for a corner because they think they need a corner and pass up a guy who's a potential Hall of Fame linebacker. You take the better player and figure out how to use him. So those are all the draft problems, but they desperately need help in the secondary and the interior of the line.
John Frenzy's got questions for you. There's no way we'll get to them all, but Randolph Zora wants to know, Brad, what's your favorite era of Cowboys football in your time calling the games, which is 40 plus years?
Yeah, this would be 43. So I've been fortunate enough to be part of the end of the Landry era, and I came in when they were still in Super Bowl mode, and then most of the 90s. I think that for mostly personal reasons, I would pick the 90s because, when I started, I was the same age as the players. Then the guys in the 90s, I was kind of like their big brother. Now there's some of them I could be their grandfather, I suppose, which is truly depressing. So I'll be going to lie down in a moment. I think that I'm close to some of the guys from the 90s teams, Aikman and Johnston and Woodson and Irvin and Emmitt Smith. And I have personal relationships with a lot of those guys, so I'd probably pick that one.
Great answer.
I just wonder about Mike McCarthy coming over from the Packers. I didn't think he was really into it last year. I know you won't want to comment like that, but are you looking forward to him having a better year this year? Should we put it that way?
Well, I'm looking forward to all of them having a better year. What do you mean by not into it?
I just don't think he was really into it like he was in Green Bay. Stunned sometimes, looking around, didn't know what to do.
They made some questionable decisions.
I'd push, questionable decisions, 100%. I would push back on not into it. If anything, after the year off that he had, fired in the middle of 18, took all of 19 off, bunch of his also out of work coaching buddies, and they formed a kind of an ad hoc staff and broke down tape around the league and tried new things for all of the 19 season. I think he started 2020 probably more into it than he had been in a very long time. I think they were all, and most of them around the league, were unprepared for the way the pandemic would affect how you coached. And I think some of the things that they did wrong as a staff, he's the head coach. You have to lay him at his feet. But and questionable decisions, yes, there were some of those that we don't understand, but not into it. I don't think that was the case.
Yeah. That was my comment, questionable. Lynch's was not into it. We have 3 minutes and 2 questions. Ryan in Albany, New York. Hi, Brad. My New York Jets hold the number 2 spot of the draft. If the Cowboys don't sign Dak, do they try to make a trade with the Jets to get a quarterback like Zach Wilson or Justin Fields?
I mean, that's something that would make sense. You'd have to then do a sign and trade on a tag. But that's so problematic. The question is if, and if they don't sign him, then almost anything's possible. But now if you're the Jets, what else? What else besides Dak do you want? What else is involved? It's not as easy a trade to make as it sounds.
And I have to ask you this is mine personal. I had a tour of AT&T Stadium when it was Cowboys Stadium. Being the radio nerd that I am, I was searching for your booth. And if this is the field, you're like here, way out here, right in the corner. I saw it. How do you call a game? How do you call a game from there?
We are fortunate to have the world's largest television screen hanging over the middle of the field, and it doesn't show the television broadcast. It has a dedicated in-house live shot. Now, they don't always show me what I want to see. You can see what's happening. You can't always see real well who's doing it, but I have great spotters, and I have learned just enough how to fake it to make it sound good.
Oh, no kidding, obviously. Okay, Brad, thank you. We're going to let you go. I hope we can do it again. Always fun.
Thanks,
yeah,
Brad.
me too. Anytime you want.
All right, thank you. The voice of the Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.